How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video on the channel. I apologize for the little bit of delay in videos on the channel recently. Life has just been a little bit crazy between work, my family, and everything. So after all, this YouTube channel is a hobby of mine, so ultimately when life gets busy, this gets put on the back burner for a little bit of time. But I'm hoping to get back into doing videos more consistently soon. Crossing my fingers. So plan for this video is so painting is done, so now it's to try and make this paint job that I've done in my garage with spray paint cans look nice. And part of that is knocking down some of the mask lines, which I had just shown, and getting down some of the orange peel. So what I'm showing here in these clips is my preparation and materials for wet sanding the car. So starting with a spray bottle of soapy water, varying stages of really fine grit sandpaper, and some foam blocks. This is actually just some foam packaging that I cut up. Firstly, I'm going to clean the panel with isopropyl alcohol just to get any contaminants off the surface, such that so I don't sand anything into the clear coat and embed that in the clear coat. For different panels around the car, I started with varying grits of sandpaper. For panels that didn't have as heavy of orange peel, I think I started with 1500, went to 2000, and then 3000. For panels that had a lot heavier of orange peel, I think I started with 1200 or even 1000 at certain points around the car. So this one I'm doing the passenger front fender. I had only actually spray painted myself the front kind of half of this fender, right basically above the wheel well. If you drew a straight line up, that's where I painted forward of that and then tried to mask and blend the clear coat. So you can see starting to knock down all the orange peel after I squeegee off the soapy water. So that's kind of a good indication of if you should keep going or not. That's the biggest thing that I noticed with wet sanding is with all the liquid on the panel, it's really hard to tell where you're at as far as knocking down the orange peel. So that's why it's important to periodically squeegee off or wipe down or dry the panel, so you have an idea of where you're actually at in the process. And I will preface that this was my first time ever wet sanding a car, so I'm learning just as much as I'm shooting this video here. So some mistakes were made, mainly that led to me having to repaint the car from the previous video. So this video is kind of like happening in multiple points. So you can see I knocked the orange peel down pretty nicely on this fender. It has that matte finish to it, but it is very smooth to the touch. It feels like what I'm showing the video. It's very smooth and not rough at all. So then got done with the 1500, now I'm moving up to 2000, and then I read somewhere that if you can do 3000, it just really helps when you go to cut and buff the paint. It just makes it a little bit easier to get some of those scratch marks out from the 2000 grit. So I'm doing the 2000, and then I'm going to be working my way up to 3000. But the mistake that I was mentioning just a bit ago was on the other side of the car, when really it was more of a clear coat issue that I had described in my previous video. So if you guys haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. There's my little list of my order of operations for all the different panels. So this is actually a clip of me as I'm making the mistake or revealing my mistake with my clear coat. So if you guys haven't watched the other video, I basically I made the mistake of not realizing that you can't really blend clear coat, because the overspray of the clear coat, you basically wet sand down through very quickly, and then you get a very harsh line that you can see the new and the old paint. If you make it out, you can kind of see that on the passenger fender there towards the top. So that's why I had to respray that one side of the car. But every other panel on the car actually went really well as far as the wet sanding process. So I was just washing off the hood, had some dirt and dust on it before I started wet sanding. So here's the hood. This panel was by far the gnarliest orange peel of all the panels on the car. It was a very hard panel to paint just because of how big and flat of a surface it is. It makes it hard with spray paint cans. So I was going into this wondering if wet sanding was going to be enough to knock this down, or if I was going to have to ultimately respray this, which I really didn't want to have to do. I'm very much over painting at this point, just all the prep work and materials and everything. So I'm going at it. I'm starting with 1200, and you can see wet sanding is a very messy process. All the slurry that you make from, knocking down your clear coat, it definitely drips everywhere and makes your garage quite dirty. You can see all the pile of paper towels I had in the corner there. So have an ample amount of paper towels and or microfiber cloths to dry. So this is after wet sanding that whole hood. Came out very well. The orange peel is basically knocked down to the point where I was happy with it. What I didn't want to happen is risk burning through in certain areas, like I did with the fender when I'm wet sanding the clear coat down. So I just stopped at that point, and I did a quick little test with some polish, and it turned out really good. So this is what I'm going to be using to cut and knock down the remaining swirls, is that hard finishing pad and that Meguiar's cutting compound. So I did a little test area to see if I was happy with the results as far as how much I wet sanded, and I was. Depending on your level of experience and the car that you're trying to finish here in detail, you might want to go even further than this. But for this project car, and the fact that this car was in an accident and I'm just doing my best here to get it all one nice color overall, it definitely exceeded my expectations. So I'm using my DA orbital polisher from Harbor Freight, and just putting the compound on in even amounts and then spreading it before turning on the polisher to avoid whipping it everywhere. And then I'm kind of doing little boxes, and I'm going back and forth across the panel, and then doing that same area and going up and down, and that seemed to work pretty well. And I was also going on a relatively kind of low to medium speed on the polisher. I know DA polishers are a little bit less risky as far as burning through clear coat, because they are always moving. They're not staying in like one space because of the DA, the dual action on the polisher itself. So this is cool to see. So this is the area with just the cutting compound done, and then this was just wet sand. So it's very cool to see actually getting some legit shine and reflection back into the paint job of this car. And for those that don't know, this hood used to be Millennium Yellow. I bought it used off OfferUp for like $150, and I thought I'd give my try at painting the whole thing with just a spray paint can. So that's a whole other video if you want to check it out. So now moving on to the bumper. The bumper had the most damage on it from the accident. The hood was actually damaged too. That's why I had to get a replacement one. But the bumper is the same bumper that came with the car. So there was all sorts of damage on the front kind of driver area. That's a whole nother video series. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. The other thing too, so the car is obviously torch red. I don't know, I think I had the white balance settings off on my camera a little bit, but the paint is definitely showing more kind of like orangey through the camera. The paint on the car in real life through your eyes definitely comes off more as like a deep red, kind of how my toolbox looks right there. So I don't know why this was coming off so kind of orangey with the lighting there in the camera, but so that's where you can see the striation between the new and the old paint, and that was just when I had made my mistake. So this video clip here is several weeks after that one, where I had actually resprayed this whole side of the car again. That's what I showed in the previous video on the channel, and now I'm going at this side of the car and wet sanding it as well. So this video spans multiple weeks here, back in December. So this is, definitely another example, like I've said in my previous videos, of be cautious of what you want to repair, because your repair area will quickly grow a lot larger, obviously if you're less experienced like I am with painting and like body work. I ended up basically painting this whole side of the car for only a few little minor damaged nick areas on the door and the rear fender. So now, because I also resprayed both headlight lids, I wanted to wet sand and buff those down just to try and at least match the amount of clear or orange peel knockdown that I had done with the other panels. So they have the same kind of level of shine. But even before wet sanding them, you can see out of the spray paint cans, that's pretty remarkable on the reflection. I was very impressed with that. So I've already plugged it in the past, but if you're looking at painting your car or doing a project like this, highly recommend ERA Paints. They have their own website, or I bought all my stuff off Amazon. You give them your color code for your car, and they mix up the paint and put it in an aerosol can. Not sponsored by them at all, but I was just really happy with their products, and they have really good customer service. So that was what happened when I started burning through the clear coat on that other fender. So that's when I noticed something was wrong, in addition to the wet sand slurry turning red and not just staying that milky white. So I'm starting with a whole new pad, so I'm not contaminating the paint with base coat that was embedded in that other polishing pad. So again, kind of doing a back and forth pattern and then up and down in that same area. You know, the goal is you want to try and work in, like, I don't know, maybe 3 square foot areas, or, you know, small area. You don't want to try and tackle the whole fender at once. And this is just all me relaying what I've learned by watching other YouTube videos from people who are a lot more experienced with detailing cars than I am. This is my, like I said, first major shot at trying to detail or spray paint a car and then detail it and make the paint job look somewhat presentable. So overall, as you'll see at the end of the video here, I'm pretty impressed with what I was able to accomplish just in my garage with spray paint cans. No real professional spray booth or materials or tools. This is all something that you could do in your garage as well with pretty minimal investment. Now, I will say there definitely is a trade-off with how big of an area you're going to want to do on your car before you want to invest in just a sprayer, because the aerosol cans are not cheap. I think they're about $40-50 a can depending on the color. So now I'm going ahead and applying some Carnauba wax, and I'm going to let that kind of dry on the paint. And then this was the point of the process I was really excited for. After I wet sanded, buffed, polished the bumper, now it was time to apply the new emblem, because the old one had seen better days from all the work that I had done on the front bumper. So now I got the Carnauba wax kind of sitting on those panels, letting that kind of dry up, and then I'll take a microfiber and wipe that down. I also masked off the areas that I was wet sanding and polishing that didn't need it from before, so I didn't risk scuffing up panels that weren't being attended to. So now it's time to pull the car out of the garage, give it a wash down, and then this part of the project is done. No more painting, no more wet sanding and buffing. I give props to people who do that on a daily basis. It is definitely hard work, and it's a labor of love for sure. So it was really rewarding, and especially to see how far this car has come since the day I bought it. I included some clips in the last video, but I'll include a clip here as well. Just the transformation of this car over the past few years has been pretty astounding, and I'm really proud of myself and what I was able to accomplish. I definitely exceeded outside my comfort zone with kind of doing things on cars that I've never done before, all the way from painting it to doing a pretty major repair on the harmonic balancer and replacing this front subframe that was cracked. So it's a very fun project car, and I'm really only just getting started with this thing. So I'm really excited for all of the things to come with this car. I've got a bunch of parts sitting in the garage that I've been waiting to put on. So far, I've just been kind of driving the car and really enjoying it. I do plan to do maybe like a driving video here. I did one a few years ago when the car was pretty much stock, so I think I'll do another one here in the coming weeks that goes over how the car feels now based on some of the upgrades I've done, and hopefully do more driving videos, because I did that a lot with my previous car, my Mercedes C55, and I think a lot of people enjoyed that. There's some fun driving roads around where I live, so I think I'm going to try and do the same thing with this car. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me along through this process. I know painting a car can sometimes get a little bit arduous as far as watching, but it's been quite the transformation, and I want to make sure I documented it on the channel here. So thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe for more videos to come. And other than that, guys, I will see you on the next one.